Delhi was in ruins. By September 14th, after John Nicholson invaded Kashmiri Gate and the eclipse happened, Delhi was in tatters and batters. The soldiers and jihads all gave up. Some ran to Lucknow, some ran to Agra, some ran to Gwalior, and many were martyred. Bahadur Shah Zafar was alas alone, a refuge of Timurid, living in the Red Fort. But the question is, how did he escape Red Fort? How did the Britishers catch Bahadur Shah Zafar? What happened to his sons? And what happened to Shah Jahanabad and the Mughal Empire after 1857? We're going to discuss about all these topics in detail today. After John Nicholson invaded through the Kashmiri Gate, he went onward and onward as far as the ruins of the magazine before he was shot. John Nicholson, he has his own history in his own more lucrative way, which we can dedicate one whole episode to some other day. So after that, the city was captured. Bahadur Shah Zafar realized that the war was lost. He never ever wanted war. He was happy being a chessboard kid for the British until that fateful day on 11th May. If you have watched our previous videos, you will know what happened on the 11th May. He had no favor against the soldiers, but to protect his kingdom, he played his last most desperate call, blessing the rebels. And these rebels surrendered to the British hands. Architect Wilson took them as far as Jama Masjid, where Bahadur Shah Zafar was now thinking on a very important question. Should he leave Delhi? Bahadur Shah Zafar, he had no interest to leave. He would rather surrender. But Mirza Mughal, his son, insisted that they go on and continue fighting the war as well as other jihads. Sell your horse harness, the chairs, and all silver ornaments we have. That was a letter he said to Bahadur Shah Zafar, requesting to arrange some funds in a time like this. Something like flour and gunpowder has become more expensive than gold, where all jewels and diamonds lost their value. The spirit of the rebels have completely dishonored him, said curtly by Sayyid Mubarak Shah during 1857. Bahadur Shah Zafar was now locked in his room, pondering what he will do inside the walls built by his great ancestors. But the jihads, they were making their own fight. They've taken down the British's top leader, John Nicholson. But over here, as you can see, the British, they have strategic positions, but in terms of gunpowder, in terms of soldiers, they are less. But why the Mughals actually lost? It's not because of soldiers. They had very good fighters. At the beginning, when the British were bombing Delhi, the residents used to go up on the terraces and watch as the meager bombs used to explode above their heads. Someone named Savar-ul-Mulk recalled those good days. But the real reason why they lost is because lack of funds. Because of lack of funds, the jihads, they had no more food, no more energy, no more ammunitions to fight. And most importantly, spies. The chaos of all these, all the citizens desperate for their lives, decided to leave. Muhammad Malawi Bakkar, who was the editor of the newspaper Delhi Urdu Akhbar, decided to leave, but he was caught by the British and taken to the gallows. His brother decided to come and save him, but he didn't know who to prioritize. So his family went away as he tried to save his brother, but couldn't. As they all ran away from Ajmeri Gate, everyone escaped. Savar-ul-Mulk and all these people, they all joined either to continue the rebellion in Lucknow or they joined the court of the Nizam of Hyderabad. After praying in the shrine, having a simple breakfast, Bahadur Shah Zafar allegedly burst into tears, telling his head Sufi saint, "I always thought these rebel soldiers would bring disaster down on our heads. I had apprehensions from the beginning. Now they have come true. These soldiers have fled before the English, brother. Though my indications are those of a fakir and a mystic, yet in my veins run that great blood who would keep me fighting to the last drop in my body. My forefathers have had worse days than these, and they never lost heart. But I've read the writing on the wall, and I see with my own eyes the fast approaching tragedy, which must end the glory of my dynasty. Now there is no shadow of doubt left that on the great house of Timurid, I am the last to be seated on the throne of India. The lamp of Mughal dominion is burning out fast. It will remain but a few hours more. Since I know this, why should I cause bloodshed? For this reason, I leave the fort. The country belongs to God. He may give it to whoever he likes. Finally, Zafar did what he had to do. He took his wife, his 3 sons, and then left Red Fort. He wanted to go on to the Qutb shrine, his house, Zafar Mahal. It's in Mehrauli. Today it's in a really bad state, dilapidated. No one knows how it is. But he wanted to go there, live there, mingle with the Sufi saints, and become one with the Almighty. He set out his journey, but the British had a well-positioned spy. One spy Bahadur Shah Zafar would never ever have doubted. Mirza Illahi Baksh. He was the nephew of Bahadur Shah Zafar, and with a trade of a packet of jewels, he was willing to persuade Bahadur Shah Zafar. He told Zafar the road to Mehrauli was dangerous as there were multiple groups robbing everyone as they just dropped the English. Bahadur Shah Zafar thought about it for a while, and he thought that whatever's happening to him is worse, so what's the point? He just thought of delaying it, and thus he spent the night at Humayun's tomb. He went into the main chamber of his great ancestor Humayun and prayed. So by 30th September, the British troops finally reached Red Fort. They blasted open half of the front gate as it went gliding down with their cannons. They went in riding through the Lahore gate, as you can see the picture behind me. With such glory they walked in. As they went through the Naubat Khana and the Diwan-e-Am, which was being treated as the army headquarters, they asked a feeble old man where Zafar was. While he lied that he was in Khas Mahal, they forgave that man, thinking that he was very weak and was honorable to let him live. They checked and ransacked the whole fort, but realized Zafar was not there. In the meanwhile, somewhere in Humayun's tomb, General Bakht Khan was the main soldier of Bahadur Shah Zafar's army. He came from Bareilly with more than 1,000 mujahideen. If you watch the second video, you would know. So he came and tried to persuade Bahadur Shah Zafar to come with him, encourage the mutiny happening in Awadh, which is Lucknow. But Zafar declined. He was that of a fakir, of a mystic. He refused to take part in any mutiny. But he was also persuaded by the devious Mirza Illahi Baksh. But here, can I tell you an interesting thing? Archidale Wilson was not interested in the capture of Bahadur Shah Zafar. It was William Hudson who tried to encourage. What was the point of winning a war when the main enemy and his male descendants are at large? Archidale Wilson said he was weak, he was feeble. They got the fort, they got all the treasures. There is no need. But Mirza Mughal were still at large. That's why they decided that, fine, William Hudson can send a strike team there, but that is at his expense. Unfortunately, Hudson's beginning got off with a very unlucky start. Mirza Illahi Baksh and other horsemen, they went towards the old city, Sherghar, which today we know as Purana Kila. They left the city of Shahjahanabad, which after the city of Shahjahanabad, it was all in ruins. There were the ruins of Firoz Shah Kotla. There was a huge kika tree forest near the Buddha Jayanti Park, as we know today. They navigated through that and went towards Din Panham and the Sundar Nursery, where we know Humayun's tomb. But unfortunately, multiple jihads came and attacked them, and multiple of their horsemen were injured, as well as Mirza Ilahi Bakhsh. Thus they had to return. The British, led by Hudson, came with a small amount of perhaps maybe 100 soldiers. They reached Red Fort, where they asked the servant of Bahadur Shah Zafar to come out for an unconditional surrender. They waited. Minutes turned into hours, and that was getting very tensed. There were 3,000 sepoys somewhere near guarding Humayun's tomb. What could have been done? The tide of war could have been changed. If those 3,000 soldiers had reacted, then maybe they'll easily win compared to the 100 soldiers of the British. But Zafar had seen bloodshed. He didn't need any more. He came out with his sons as they surrendered to William Hudson. You can see this painting behind you. What I think, in my opinion, it's not the way how the capture took place. There was no epic sword fight as you can see here. But leaving that aside, they put him on a bullock cart. And here's this common misconception people make. People think Zafar's sons were killed at Humayun's tomb. Well, I would like to correct you on that. Zafar's sons were found in Humayun's tomb, but they were killed somewhere near Purana Killa, Khuni Darwaza. That is why the bloody gate. Today we know it as Khuni Darwaza because we think that the blood from their bodies still drip. They were taken on a bullock cart and taken back to the cantonment. They were taken to Zinat Mahal's Haveli, Lal Kuan, where they waited. Finally, he got tried in the Red Fort in the new British barracks. He looked bewildered, seeing how his city is now ruined in destruction. His try was that he assisted in the taking of Delhi, he assisted with funding the mutiny, and he helped fight with the jihads, gave them inspiration, funded them. Thus, he was sentenced with his family to Rangoon. And as the ship sailed from the coast of India all the way to Rangoon, the last surviving descendant of Timurid is gone, and the mutiny ended. The British were mad over grief, mad over all the people lost. Brigadier John Nicholson, Mr. and Mrs. Jennings, Mr. and Mrs. Harriet, Abigail, all these people who died in the fight, General Taylor, General Stone, General Anson, Brigadier Henry Barnard, Major Reed, Taylor, all these soldiers who valiantly died in the battle. So, in their anger, they threw their frustration, especially Theophilus Metcalfe. His whole property was destroyed, everything of it. He took it on the buildings. According to him, he destroyed so many buildings, which Lord Cannon agreed to this. The plan was to demolish the whole city of Shahjahanabad and make a new palace. But Henry Lawrence, he saved Red Fort and the Jama Masjid from being destroyed, as well as the city gates. Other letters of Ghalib, they mourned the destruction. Some of the city's finest mosques, Akbarabadi Masjid, Kashmir Katra, great Sufi shrines of Sheikh Kalimullah and Jahanabadi, built by Maulavi Muhammad Bakr, who we know was hanged. They spread over 70 yards wide, all demolished, and the great caravanserai of Shah Jahan's daughter Jahanara was demolished. And today, in Ghantagar Chowk, what we know as the town hall, that was the site where the old building used to be of the Haveli of Jahanara Begum. And then the mutiny ended. The British, they destroyed half of the city, and the whole Delhi went through a sea of change as the British soon after left Shahjahanabad. They went towards Rajmahal, built a new capital. But their sacrifice was not in vain. They upheld them hard. The mutiny continued in other parts. They continued in Jhansi, they continued in Jharkhand, they continued in Tamil Nadu, continued in Lucknow. They upheld our past struggles. Because of them, the country which we know it, the independent country we know it, it couldn't have been possible without all these things. So it's our job to remember them, uphold them, take care of the monuments, like as I've said in my previous videos. And our next video is gonna be on Old Delhi, Delhi before 1857, during the time of Mughals. Thanks and have a great day.